single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My channel. Hello guys and welcome. It has been a while, I guess. I'm so glad to be here. Continuing from our last conversation that we've had. Firstly, I just want to thank you guys for being subscribed to my channel and watching my videos and commenting on my videos and actually just offering so much love and support. I do really appreciate you. So today is the big day of the big reveal. I've been fighting with the Holy Spirit on a very serious and subtle note about this because it is a very big part of my life that I find hard to share with a lot of people because I feel like it is scary and I don't know, like I genuinely don't feel comfortable in sharing it. As mentioned in my last video, I was talking about rebuilding the walls, and one of the things that God had told me this year that I need to do was to heal fully from my past. And I had mentioned that one of the things that caused my walls to be broken down was a relationship that I got into. So now this is like a mini story time and just bringing forth an understanding on what happened in this relationship that caused my walls to fall. But more especially, it is my testimony and I'm sharing it with you because I understand that from my previous videos you do get a deep understanding that I've been practically saved all my life, if you know, notice. But I accepted Christ when I was 11. I started really having a deep relationship with him when I was 12 years old. So practically I know no other life outside of Christ. However, I did experience a lot of challenges while I was in Christ, and I think it's something that we don't discuss as Christians, that being saved doesn't necessarily mean that you're exempted from challenges. It doesn't mean you're necessarily exempted from problems, to say, oh, when we go in our nowadays language. So that a long introduction to what I'm going to talk about. Please brace yourself. Okay, I think I'm making this sound so bad, but it is bad. I'm just making it sound worse, and I thank God that literally he's brought me this far and I'm actually able to even share this with you guys. So I had met this guy from my church. I met him at school. We were both students, and then I realized that we go to the same church. Later on he asked me out on a date. I didn't agree immediately, but fast forward, I eventually agreed and we started dating while I was in high school. And I remember one of my teachers told me that this is a bad idea, but I was like, why not? You know, when you're told not to do something as a young person, you want to do it more. So I did it anyway. And just a full disclosure, I've always understood the perspective of no sex before marriage, but the whole no dating situation, I was like, I'm not part of it. As long as my relationship with Christ was not screwed up, then I'm doing it. And to be quite frank, really it was a struggle because I would go to church and get sermons that are preaching against dating, and I'll go back and break up with this person, and it was such a struggle for me to be in a relationship. I constantly do this, but as much as I thought it was something that I was okay with doing, but clearly it wasn't, because I kept on breaking up with this person. But fast forward, we continued dating, and then the guy proposed to me. I think I was in grade 12 at that time. I did not say yes because I was scared. I was like, I'm only in grade 12. I'm going to university and I will see hotter, nicer boys. But I was genuinely scared and I didn't think the relationship was gonna last. And I just took the ring and did not say anything. I said I was gonna respond to him. obviously he was disappointed, but he was okay with it. And fast forward to my first day in university, we continued dating, and in our dating, I realized that this is the person that I want. Well, he went to PE and I was studying in Tata, and he came back and it was nice. Like, I was enjoying being in a relationship with him. There was a point where we had broken up, and I made this very deep prayer that, God, if we get back together, then it means he's the one for me. And he came back, and he did not specifically, now that I think about it, he did not specifically say that he wanted me back, but he did do things that implied that he wanted us to be together again. And I took the hint and followed the hint. So I finally accepted the proposal, went to tell my parents about it, and my mom was a bit skeptical about it, but she was like, it is your choice, it is your life, but I would appreciate for you to give yourself time with this person. And I did. I really did. I was genuinely just dating this person, but I just had a ring. So in my mind, it was a promise engagement ring, if I would say. So I was somewhat engaged, if I would say, in a very not traditional way, because in our Xhosa way of being traditional, when you're engaged, we require inkomo zamalobol. But we continued, and I had a ring, and a lot of my mentors knew about him, so I didn't hide the relationship. I made sure that the relationship was very transparent within the fellowship that I was attending at the time. So fast forward, we do, however, fall into the trap of having sex eventually, because nature of things in life are meant to progress. I mean, you can't be dating for 5 years, guys, and then, okay, I don't know for other people, because I know the people that actually were able to wait for that long, but for me it wasn't easy, and I fall into the trap of actually having sex before marriage. So the first time I had sex with him, we fell pregnant, and I did see changes in my body, and I suspected that I was pregnant, but I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it. I kept on telling him that I do suspect that I'm pregnant, and he kept on saying that he doesn't get people pregnant, because I get it, he's the man of God, I guess. Okay, I'm just please ignore the pan. I'm not trying to be some kind of way towards him. So, but that happened, and then this day we decide to buy a pregnancy test, and then I do this pregnancy test, and I later find out that I am pregnant. Obviously the first thing that I did was to cry, guys. I cried my lungs out. I cried so much, and I when you cry and you're like, oh mama, kind of vibe, and I'm thinking my mom was not here when I was doing these things. But I really cried, and I was really scared, and I was really young at the time. I was very naive, I guess. So we talk about it. We don't talk about anything. So the guy tells me that let's go to his house, because I used to go to his house. His family knew me and everything like that. So we go to his house. He didn't live with his parents, so we get there, and it was just the two of us. I thought we were gonna speak more about this, and then the only thing he says to me that we are going to see a doctor the following day. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I remember that night I slept early because I was so scared. Like, I was flipping scared. So we wake up early in the morning that day. We go to the doctor's practice. Then when we get there, I don't know, he speaks to the receptionist. I think the consultation fee was too high for him, and then he decides that we are leaving. Mind you, this person is not speaking to me, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening, because yesterday we were speaking and today we are not speaking. This is a very confusing situation, but it didn't matter, because I trusted him. So we leave, and we go to the clinic, and we go to this particular clinic that I cannot disclose, but it is an official government clinic. It's a safe clinic, if I would say. And then we go there. When we get there, I get to register, and then the nurse does an HIV test. as well as also asked me what am I here for. Obviously, I was so confused because I didn't know what I was there for. I don't know if I was going to check if I'm really pregnant, or I was there, like I was just confused what I was there to do. So I just told the nurse that I figured out yesterday that I was pregnant, and I just want to confirm if I'm really pregnant. And the nurse says that they don't offer pregnancy tests. All they do is do prenatal care. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then we tested for HIV, and we spoke, and then we went through counseling and everything like that. And we just spoke with this nurse, like we got deep for some odd reason. And I told her that this is my first relationship, this was my first time having sex, and I don't know what to do with myself. So after that, he just tells me to, she tells me to go home and go just think about my life, because she asked me what am I doing, and I told her I was a student and everything else. So fast forward, we go out of the nurse's consultation area. As we are walking through the passage, there are people standing there in line, and then this guy asks this male nurse that where's the abortion clinic, where's as that site for abortion. This person didn't speak to me about this. I didn't know this was even an option for us. For me, I didn't even think about it. I was just thinking, how in the world am I going to tell my parents? And so the guy just pulls this guy aside, and he's like, hey nigga, you can't shout things like this, because the minute he asked that, everyone in the line just turned and looked at me. And I don't want to lie, I was so embarrassed, and I was so terrified. So the nurse eventually shows us where the side of an abortion is. We go there, we are not talking, this person is not saying anything to me, guys. And then we get there, and then when I get to the door, I turn, because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I turn back quickly, and then when I'm turning, and then one of the nurses comes out, and he chases after me, and she's asking me, what are you here for? And I'm like, please ask him, because he didn't speak to me, so I don't know why I'm here. And then he says to the nurse, she's pregnant. And the nurse asked me, do I want to keep the baby? And I'm just like, I didn't think about that. If I want to keep it or not, I didn't think that was even an option for me. So I don't know. And then she just says, okay, whatever you decide. So she tells us the days that the abortion is done in, which was, I think it was on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So she tells us that we need to come back on one of these days, and we were there on a Tuesday, né? So okay, we go back to school, to Reyes, and I speak to him, and I'm asking, what is this? And he says that I am scared of my mom, and he knows that I won't be able to do this whole pregnancy thing. And secondly, his reputation, and yeah, basically the baby was not being kept, guys. In summary, that we were having an abortion. And I felt like, okay, I don't know what to say at the moment, because I'm like, okay, this is shocking for me. And then I go to sleep, and I remember doing a prayer and crying and telling God that, Lord, I am doing this abortion because, one, I'm not going to raise a child that is not wanted by his father. Secondly, I am flipping scared to my mind of what my mom will do to me, and I don't want to disappoint my dad. And I am genuinely scared of what people will start saying, and because I've been saved all my life, and I'm not just the saved type of person. I was also a president of a fellowship that I was attending at the time. So like a lot for me, I felt like a lot was at stake for me. So I made the decision on my bed, and I was like, I'm doing this, and that's final for me. I didn't listen what the Holy Spirit was saying to me or anything like that. I genuinely decided on my own that I was doing an abortion. So fast forward to the day, wake up early in the morning. The guy accompanies me to the clinic to make sure that I'm there. We go in there. It was like, guys, it was so early. It was 5 a.m. and the clinic was already packed by people. Like, there were students there. Like, it was so scary that so many people were terminating pregnancies, and I was just like, oh my god. But anyways, I sat, as scared as I was, next to this wonderful woman who was married, by the way, and I was very confused. Why is she having an abortion? And she had her own story that she told me about, and I told her that this is what's happening and I'm scared, and above all, I am saved, and I'm not even sure that I'm supposed to be doing this. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. I know the Bible's against this, but I feel like I can't keep this baby because I am scared, you know. And then, no, we just sit there, went through the scan. So the nurses offer you guys counseling, and they tell you the dangers of actually having an abortion and everything, and they tell you the procedures, different procedures, if you are 6 weeks, if you are less than 6 weeks, you know, all these procedures. If you are, I'm not sure about the weeks particularly now, but, and then I went through a scan, and then so they told me that I was 6 weeks and 2 days pregnant. And so they don't show you the baby or the scan, because I get you don't want the baby, so why do you want to see scans? So she gave me an injection, I think, or a pill, I'm not sure. It was an injection and a pill. So also I was forced to take contraceptives, because they're like, no, you can't contracept, you can't abstain, so you need to contracept now. So I did that, and then I chose a contraception, and then obviously I chose the 3 months contraception, because I was like, I'm not coming to the clinic anytime soon. And then I went back home, and then they told me that the same time that they gave me this pill is the same time I should be drinking the other pill that they gave me the following day. So I was like, no problem, this is it, we are done. And then I went back to school. So in going back to school, I attend a class in the morning. I remember at that time I had an anatomy class. So I go to my class as usual. I sit in front as usual. I'm a good student. Take out my books, take out my pens. The time is 10 o'clock because I took the pill at 10. Time is 10 o'clock. I take my pill again. I put it in. So the foolishness that I did was that I didn't read the side effects. I didn't read the pill at all, and I don't know why I did that, because I usually read every medication that I get. I read the side effects, but for some odd reason that day I didn't read it. And then I realized, well, no man, something is going on in me and I don't know what's wrong. Okay. And then I realized that I'm not going to cope, and then I write a note to one of my classmates, and then I just give her the note and I leave the class. Guys, to be quite frank, till this day I have no idea how I got to my dorm room, because I couldn't see. Like, it was dark, I was in pain, I had no energy. It was like I was dying that minute. And I remember when I got to my dorm, I went straight to the toilet, and when I got there I sat on the floor. So now I was vomiting, I was bleeding, I had a diarrhea. Like, this thing was happening at the same time, and more importantly, I was in excruciating pain, and I was crying because I was like, Lord Jesus, what am I doing? Why am I here? How am I here? And you know, everything happened, and guys, I was deteriorating, and I was sitting on the floor. I was deteriorating. I didn't know what was happening to me, until finally I felt the last blood clot come out of me, and I suspected that that was the last of it, and I could crawl back to my room. So I went to my room and I slept. So following to that, obviously I was guilty. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I couldn't attend a lot of church things. I wanted to avoid every church thing that was there. Actually, I avoided a lot of them, but I couldn't avoid this one because I was the president, so I couldn't just not show up. I had to show up consistently. I showed up as dry as I was, as guilty as I was, and as angry as I was toward myself. Mind you, the guy didn't speak to me on the day that the abortion happened. I think he called me a few days after. He didn't check up on me, he doesn't come be with me. But that was not the important thing here. The important thing is that I hated myself. Like, I hated myself so much. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to read the word. I didn't know how to do anything that was drawing me nearer to God. Like, I felt like I was so dirty. I felt like I was so impure, and there is no way that God would look at me again. Like, there was no way I could stand and say I am saved. There was, like, for me, like, this whole journey that I had with Christ was just futile at this point, because I had just ended it. It was like I ended everything, and it was just over a stupid decision that I made of having sex before marriage. So fast forward, because God is faithful, I had to attend a conference, a CMF conference. I remember at that time I hadn't prayed, no did anything. Like, I hadn't prayed, I hadn't read the word. Like, I was just functioning. You know, when you just function, you're just a person. I hadn't done any of those things, and I was going to this conference, and I remember it was in Zimbabwe, and that was actually my first time I was attending a conference in Zimbabwe. So I attend this conference. Guys, I don't remember the word that was spoken to me, but all I remember was the knowledge I got that conference, that God loved me. And I understood it in such a different form. Like, this whole thing of Jesus dying on the cross, and rising up on the third day, and why he did it. It was a deeper revelation for me at the time. And I didn't have that revelation, guys. I had Holy Communion a million times before that, but that day it was different. I was crying throughout the conference. Like, you know, when I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit, an encounter with Christ himself, with his love. And it was like, all these years I didn't know him as Christ, my Redeemer. I only known God as my Father, and my perspective of a father was a bit distorted in terms of, if you do something wrong, then your father will scold at you, and you obey the rules. And remember, I grew up being such a perfect child, listening to my parents, doing everything right according to the worldly standards. So I didn't know anything outside of not doing right, and I didn't know my father's love outside of not doing right. And at this time, it's like he was pursuing me and loving me in a different manner. Like, I don't know, I don't want to explain this any further, but that is when I started knowing what it meant to be loved unconditionally by God. And for me, that was when my journey of understanding love began. And funny enough, after that whole encounter, Christ started making me so compassionate about so many things. I was given a vision on who I'm called for, and that. And for me, it was bizarre, because I'm like, I'm a sinner, you can't use me. I mean, I did not do right. Like, I had all these excuses why God can't use me, why God can't do these things through me. And I just didn't understand why God was still revealing to me a calling that he has put on top of my life in everything. And he made me understand my career on a deeper perspective and what it meant. Yo, guys, like, I feel like all I'm trying to say is, for me, I experienced the love of God from that. And I didn't know that his love could be experienced like that. I always spoke of God's unconditional love when I was sharing a word somewhere or preaching somewhere, but I had never experienced it until that day, and I did. And all I'm learning though from that is that through everything, even when I didn't want myself, God still wanted me so much, and he pursued me. And that me having a relationship with him at a young age was preparing me for the Zenande that was pregnant in university. The Zenande that had an abortion in university, and he took all these years to prepare me for that thing. Not to say that God allowed it to happen, it was my own foolish decision. And I'm not saying that God wouldn't have called me if I didn't have an abortion. He still would have used me miraculously. So, but I stand to say, when Paul says that in my weakness your strength is made perfect, that is exactly what happened to me. That in my weakness, God's strength was then revealed and it was made perfect. And for me, this was a thorn that was so sharp that for the longest time, I couldn't share this part of my life. It was still embarrassing. Anyone would say abortion, my heart would literally wanna explode, because it's just this wound that didn't fully heal. As much as God's love chased me, but it hadn't fully healed. And as a result, I only started telling my mom. I told my mom this year, as much as I started telling people. From that year, God pursued me, but I couldn't tell my family for the longest time. And though I was pursued by God and I understood his unconditional love, but I still have some difficulties. I fell into the trap when things don't happen to me. I'll think it's because of what I did. If a relationship failed, I'll think, oh God, it's because I had an abortion. If I wanted something and I didn't get it, I think God was punishing me or something like that. I mean, the devil will put me in a corner to say, you can't get that. You were the same person that had an abortion. And I'd cry myself at night. And this whole process, before actually I got to the part of saying that I had experienced God's unconditional love, I was full on depressed. Like, I was really, really depressed, because I even remember that year I was repeating my first year. So I was full on depressed, and I would cry myself to sleep. I remember this other time I actually peed on myself. I was sleeping, and I was sleeping with my grandmother, and it was bad. Like, it was really, really bad. It got better, but I don't want to lie and say that I'm all good. It sometimes comes to me in a form of attack at night, where I'm just sitting there alone and I start crying and I start being scared that I just might not have a child because, well, I had an abortion. And it's a journey that I'm going through. It's a journey that God has told me to attend therapy, because I need to be fully healed from it, and just to be making young girls aware that purity is a thing. Purity is not something for your husband. It has nothing to do with the man that you'll be married to, but it has everything to do with you. It protects you as a woman. It doesn't mean that if you are impure, though, that God will not use you. God can still use you, but I highly recommend the fact that being pure saves you. It is all about you. As much as holiness does glorify God, but it is about you. it's so funny how everything that glorifies our God is also for our own benefit. And just an understanding that I realized after what happened, that I was keeping myself for my husband, and that when a man came that portrayed himself to be my husband, I easily gave myself away. And had I understood in the beginning that my virginity was not about the man, it was about me as Uzen. It was about glorifying my God. It was about understanding that this body is God's temple, and at the right time, because also, as much as sex is such a beautiful thing, but when it's outside the right container, it becomes destructive. As Michael Todd would say, that anything outside the right container is destructive. Water outside the right boundaries is destructive. Think about a tsunami. As much as, well, it would destroy the houses and probably things will get better, the water will subside and everything, but there will be remnants, there will be cleaning that were caused by the tsunami after that you will need to do. So basically, this video is one to highly recommend people to consider purity and understand that it is something that is required for us and it protects us. And secondly, if you have fallen into the trap of being involved in sex before marriage, or having gone through an abortion or a miscarriage or anything similar to that, that God still loves you. His grace is still sufficient for you, that he will carry you, and that healing is still available for you, and that it is possible for you to be okay, and that God will still bless you. Because even after that, for me, I appreciate the things God does for me so much, because I thought every time anything happens to me, I think I don't deserve it because of what I did. Because I feel like I was a murderer, but God pursues. God died, like Christ died for such. And it is one of those things where you just like, it could only be God. And I hope this video finds you guys in good conditions, and I hope this testimony does help someone who's in the darkest part of their lives and thinking that they can't come out because, well, they've caused that harm to themselves. Because I think it's I'm not saying it's better, but because of a lack of a better word, that it's easier to want to be healed and go to God when you have been raped and you got pregnant. But when you've made a decision of consciously having sex before marriage and getting pregnant and actually going for an abortion, it becomes hard because it's a self-inflicted sin. And even if you've murdered someone, it's a self-inflicted sin. Even if you've cheated on someone, like all these little things that we do, we feel like they're not worth being forgiven. But funny enough, God forgives any sin and every kind of sin, and offers healing, full healing, and offers a life that is worth living, and offers you all the blessings that you need. But all you need to do is to allow his love to pursue you, and allow yourself to be used by God once more, and know that a broken vessel you are, he will mend, and he will pour unto you his things. Not to saying that if you are not broken, God will not pour his things. He will still pour his thing in anything. He is the potter, and he does anything and everything to his sons and daughters, and we are his sons and daughters. I love you guys so much, and I hope you will enjoy this video. See you guys next time on my next video. I love you. Bye.